Imagine a man standing in the center of a roaring storm. Wind lashes his face, rain soaks his clothes, yet his gaze remains unbroken, his expression untroubled. The storm rages, but within him there is calm. He knows a simple truth. Anger is a chain you lock around your own mind. When you allow others to provoke you, you hand them the key to your freedom. You give them power over your inner world. What if I told you you could break that chain? What if I told you you could walk through life untouchable, unbothered, unshaken by anyone's words or actions? This is not some distant ideal. It is a choice, a discipline you can forge. Let us learn how to master our emotions, how to be that unyielding figure in the storm. For as Marcus Aurelius once wrote, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Are you ready to take back that power? Let's start number 1. Know the source of your anger. To conquer anger, you must first understand where it originates. Anger is not imposed on us by others, it is born within us. It arises from our expectations, our judgments, and our desires. When someone insults you, it is not the insult itself that stokes the fire of your rage, it is your reaction to it. It is your interpretation that gives those words the power to harm. You decide that the insult is offensive. You choose to feel slighted or wounded. In this decision, you ignite your own suffering. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus reminds us, what disturbs men's minds is not events, but their judgments on events. This insight is a key that unlocks a new understanding. We grow angry not because reality is inherently cruel or unfair, but because we cling to the belief that it should conform to our will. We set rigid expectations on others, demanding that they behave as we want them to. When they inevitably act according to their nature and not our desires, frustration festers, boiling into anger. But consider this. What if we stopped demanding that the world behave according to our wishes? What if we accepted that people will act in ways that reflect their own nature, not our preferences? When we let go of these futile expectations, we remove the fuel that feeds our anger. We regain control. Instead of being slaves to the whims of others, we become masters of our own reactions. Picture carrying a shield forged from this understanding. When insults or betrayals strike, they glance off harmlessly. They cannot pierce your calm because the source of anger, your own judgments, has been neutralized. Your peace remains unshaken. By mastering the art of suspending judgment, you create an inner fortress that no external force can breach. As Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Our minds are our domain, and it is within this domain that anger can be extinguished. The world will always offer opportunities for offense. People will lie, cheat, insult, and disappoint. Yet none of these things force you to lose your composure. That power and that choice is yours alone. When you understand that anger is an internal creation, not an external imposition, you reclaim your power. You become untouchable. No one can make you angry unless you give them permission. And when you refuse to give that permission, you cultivate a serenity that others cannot disturb. Number 2, accept that people are flawed. To live without anger, we must embrace a cold, undeniable truth. People are flawed. They will act out of selfishness, ignorance, and weakness. They will lie to protect themselves. They will disappoint you out of laziness or apathy. They will harm you intentionally or unintentionally because their view of the world is skewed by their own experiences, desires, and fears. This is human nature. To expect otherwise is to invite constant frustration. Seneca, the Roman Stoic, put it plainly. What is the point of being angry at the world as if the world would notice? The world will not change to accommodate your sense of justice or fairness. People will not always behave with integrity or kindness. But why waste your energy fighting reality? Why allow the flaws of others to dictate your inner peace? When you expect perfection, you are placing your serenity in the hands of unpredictable, fallible humans. This is a recipe for endless disappointment. Instead, let us shift our perspective. Let us see people not as they should be, but as they are. Imperfect, inconsistent, human. When someone wrongs you, remind yourself, they are acting according to their nature. They are doing what flawed humans do. Does a snake bite you out of malice? No, it bites because it is a snake. In the same way, people act according to their character. By accepting this, we strip away the surprise and indignation that fuel our anger. We replace outrage with understanding. When a colleague betrays your trust, you no longer see it as a shocking offense. You see it as a predictable consequence of human weakness. This understanding frees you. You no longer carry the heavy burden of resentment. Instead, you shrug off the offense and move forward, your mind untroubled. Marcus Aurelius advises us to remember that to expect bad men not to do wrong is madness. To expect the dishonest not to lie or the selfish not to betray is to expect fire not to burn. It is not the world that must change, it is us. When we adjust our expectations to align with reality, we remove the sting of disappointment. We build a resilience that cannot be shattered by human frailty. When you accept people's flaws, you rise above them. Their imperfections lose the power to disturb you. You become a calm observer of the human condition, no longer a victim of it, and in this calm, you find strength. Number 3, master your immediate reactions. Anger is a fire that ignites in an instant. It flares up before reason has the chance to intervene. But we forget that between stimulus and response, there exists a critical pause, a narrow space where our choice resides. And it is in this space that we master ourselves, or let ourselves be consumed. To never get angry or bothered by anyone, we must conquer this immediate reaction. Epictetus, the Stoic slave turned philosopher, taught that it is not the events that disturb us, but our judgments about those events. Someone insults you? The insult itself has no power. It is your judgment of the insult, your belief that it matters, that creates anger. In that fleeting moment between insult and reaction, you have a choice. Will you let your emotions take control, or will you pause, reflect, and remain unshaken? When you feel the surge of anger rise, pause. Breathe deeply. Observe your reaction as if you were watching it happen to someone else. This pause is your weapon. In that brief moment, remind yourself, I am in control of myself. No one can make me angry unless I allow them. The insult, the disrespect, the betrayal, they are all external. They exist outside of you. What exists within you is the power to choose your response. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, wrote to himself, if you are troubled by something external, it is not the thing itself that disturbs you, but your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment. Imagine a stone thrown into a pond. It causes ripples, but the pond soon returns to stillness. You too can return to stillness after the ripple of provocation. To master your reactions, practice this daily. Small irritations are your training ground. The person who cuts you off in traffic, the rude cashier, the colleague who interrupts you. Use these moments to pause, breathe, and detach. Each time you succeed, you strengthen your mind. You prove to yourself that you are not a slave to impulse. You are the master of your reactions. In this mastery lies freedom. Freedom from the control of others. Freedom from emotional turmoil. When you master that brief pause, you create an unbreakable shield. No insult, no slight, no provocation can penetrate it. You stand unmoved like a mountain amidst the storm. Number 4, redefine what offends you. Why do we get offended? Because we believe certain actions, words, or behaviors are unacceptable. But what if we chose to redefine what truly offends us? The Stoics knew that most of what offends us is trivial, fleeting, and ultimately meaningless. Our anger is often wasted on things that don't deserve our energy. Seneca reminds us, we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. Imagine someone criticizes you harshly. What happens in that moment? Your mind assigns meaning to their words. You decide, this is unfair, this is wrong, and anger takes hold. But stop for a moment and question, why does this offend me? Is the opinion of another person worth disturbing your peace? Does their criticism change your character, your values, or your worth? The answer is no. What offends us is not the external event, but our interpretation of it. Let's redefine offense. Instead of being bothered by rudeness, see it as a reflection of the other person's character, not yours. Instead of letting betrayal wound you deeply, see it as a lesson in trust and resilience. Choose not to be offended. It is a choice, and that choice grants you power. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, choose not to be harmed, and you won't feel harmed. Don't feel harmed, and you haven't been. Picture yourself walking through a storm. The wind howls, the rain pelts your skin, but you walk forward undisturbed. The storm does not offend you, it simply exists. People's behavior is the same. They are the storm outside. You are the calm within. Their words, their actions, they are mere weather patterns. Do not give them the power to upset the stillness inside you. We often let our ego inflate the importance of an offense. Our pride whispers, "You can't let them treat you like this." But ask yourself, does my peace of mind depend on their behavior? Does my strength come from their approval? No. Our peace, our strength, our fortitude all come from within. When you redefine what offends you, you reclaim control. You decide that your inner state is untouchable, no matter what chaos swirls around you. Embrace this mindset, and you will find that nothing, no insult, no slight, no act of disrespect can shake you. You will rise above it all, untouchable and free. Number 5. Master the pause before reaction. In the space between stimulus and response lies a realm of power, the pause. The Stoics understood that immediate reactions are the tools of the undisciplined mind. When we react instantly to provocation, we surrender control. But when we pause, even for a moment, we reclaim our sovereignty over ourselves. Picture this. Someone insults you. The fire of anger flares up, urging you to lash out, but instead, you take a breath. You pause. In that pause, you ask yourself, what's the wisest response here? You recognize that the insult is just words, powerless on their own. You remember the words of Epictetus. If someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation. You refuse to give that power away. The pause is a small act, but it carries immense strength. It is a mental fortress, a split second where you decide not to be a slave to emotion. In that moment, you remind yourself that self-mastery is the highest form of freedom. This pause transforms your reaction from an emotional impulse into a calculated response. You become the commander of your mind, not a captive to your instincts. When anger beckons, pause and ask yourself, what will anger achieve? Will it bring me closer to my goals? Will it reflect the person I want to be? More often than not, the answer is no. Anger clouds judgment and damages relationships. But within the pause, there is clarity, a chance to choose patience, wisdom, and resilience. Marcus Aurelius urged us to remember that our thoughts shape our reality. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. The pause is where this power is exercised. When you master the pause, you elevate yourself above petty disputes and trivial frustrations. You become unshakable, someone who responds with grace, not fury. We must practice this pause daily. In traffic jams, heated arguments, or moments of disrespect, we pause. We remind ourselves that our response defines us more than the event itself. Through this practice, we cultivate an unbreakable will, a will that chooses peace over rage, strength over weakness, and dignity over pettiness. Master the pause, and you will discover a deeper form of control. You will not just act like the best version of yourself, you will become it. Number 6. Realize the power of perception. Everything that happens to us, every insult, every setback, every frustration, passes through the lens of our perception. The event itself is neutral. It is we who give it meaning. Epictetus once said, "Men are disturbed not by things, but by the views they take of them." When we understand this truth, we unlock a profound ability, the power to reshape our reactions by reshaping our perception. Imagine a person cutting you off in traffic. Your immediate thought might be, "What a selfish fool." But what if you paused and considered other possibilities? Maybe they are rushing to an emergency. Maybe they simply made a mistake like you've done before. By changing how you perceive the event, you change how you feel about it. The anger dissipates. The Stoics taught us that our perception is within our control. If we believe someone has wronged us, resentment festers. But if we perceive it as a lesson, a test of our composure, we grow stronger. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Choose not to be harmed, and you won't feel harmed. Don't feel harmed, and you haven't been." The insult or injury holds no real power unless we allow it to. This shift in perception isn't about blind optimism or denial. It's about seeing events clearly, without emotional distortions. It's understanding that we can interpret setbacks as opportunities to practice resilience. We can see disrespect as a chance to cultivate patience. Instead of feeling victimized, we feel empowered. When someone tries to provoke you, remember, you have the power to decide how you perceive their actions. Their words are just sounds. Their intentions are their burden, not yours. By refusing to perceive yourself as a victim, you rob them of their power over you. You stand firm, unyielding, like a mountain in a storm. We are architects of our inner world. When we master our perception, we transform not only how we experience the world, but also how we respond to it. We no longer react with blind emotion. We respond with reason, calm, and strength. We transcend petty grievances, choosing clarity and peace over confusion and rage. Perception is power. Own it, and nothing can shake you. Number 7. Understand the temporary nature of everything. When we feel anger rise within us, it often comes from a deep sense of permanence, a belief that the offense, the frustration, or the injustice will endure. But the reality is, everything we experience is fleeting. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, everything that happens is as familiar and well-known as the rose in spring or the fruit in autumn. Life moves in cycles. No emotion, no insult, no irritation lasts forever. Think back to something that enraged you a year ago. Does it still hold the same weight today? Likely not. The moment passed, the feeling faded, and life continued. This is the nature of all things. When you're in the grip of frustration, remind yourself, this too shall pass. Just as clouds drift across the sky, so do our emotions and the events that provoke them. The Stoics understood impermanence intimately. They knew that every encounter, every challenge was transient. When we hold on to this truth, we gain an immense advantage. The insult loses its sting when we recognize its temporary nature. The irritation dissolves when we remember that it's just a fleeting moment in the vast expanse of time. Seneca wrote, "What need is there to weep over parts of life? The whole of it calls for tears." He wasn't advocating despair, he was highlighting the impermanence of life itself. If all things are temporary, then no grievance deserves to consume us. We can let go of anger because holding on to it is as futile as trying to hold on to smoke. When someone wrongs you, ask yourself, will this matter tomorrow? In a week? A year? Most often the answer is no. Even the most painful experiences eventually fade. Knowing this gives us the strength to release our grip on anger, to let it slip away like sand through open fingers. Embracing impermanence doesn't mean we don't care. It means we choose not to be enslaved by what is temporary. We rise above the pettiness of the moment, understanding that our peace of mind is worth far more than any fleeting frustration. We let time do its work, and in the meantime, we stay calm, composed, and resilient. Everything is temporary. Hold on to that truth, and nothing can hold on to you. Conclusion: mastery over the self is true power. In the chaos of life, where insults fly like arrows and frustrations rise like tidal waves, remember, the power to remain unbothered lies within you. True mastery is not control over others, it is control over yourself. The Stoics taught us that no external force has the power to shake us unless we grant it permission. When you cultivate this inner fortitude, you become unshakable, like an ancient oak rooted deep into the earth. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." This is the essence of freedom, liberation from the chains of anger, irritation, and emotional turmoil. It's a freedom that no one can steal from you, a fortress that stands unbreachable against the storms of life. In this fortress, we find peace, we find strength, we find ourselves. When we accept that our reactions are within our control, we cease to be victims of circumstance. We stop being puppets manipulated by the strings of external events. We become the architects of our own tranquility, crafting a life defined not by reactivity, but by resilience. The more we practice, the more unyielding our resolve becomes. We rise above the noise, unmoved by the provocations that used to imprison us. So when anger knocks at your door, remember who holds the key. When frustration threatens your peace, remind yourself that you are the guardian of your own mind. No insult, no slight, no challenge has the power to rattle you unless you surrender your power. Embrace this truth, and you will never be enslaved by anger again. If this message resonates with you, take a moment to reflect and let us know your thoughts in the comments. Share a time when you overcame anger, or let us know which Stoic principle you want to adopt into your life. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to The Modern Stoic, and hit the notification bell so you won't miss our next journey into Stoic wisdom. Your engagement helps us grow this community of resilience and self-mastery. Stay strong, stay Stoic.